So the key strategies that we have to and actions we have to take to attain net zero have to be in the informal sector, it's skills development and the access and availability of the sustainable materials and building techniques. And for the formal sector, it's obviously smart design, BIM becoming the norm, reworking the construction industry standards and regulations to not encourage excessive over designing. So some ideas. For the informal sector, it could be providing training and opportunities for small builders and block makers, and providing support to the local technicians and designers that are currently investigating local materials. Because on the ground in Africa, there are so many people that are currently investigating using local materials, but they're typically not well supported in their research, or it doesn't end up in a building code. So at the end of the day, it's not an acceptable form of construction, and it really limits how well that material can be utilized when it actually has proven um, performance in terms of strength and durability. Then on the formal side, it's reinforcing efficient design without over designing, advocating for low carbon cement and concrete, as well as contextualize sustainably friendly reforms that aren't just it worked in Norway, we can use it in Ghana, but rather if this worked in Norway, how can it be reframed to work in Ghana? And what was it that made it work in this specific country? And then this also encourage the governments to incentivize sustainable construction, because as it stands, there is no incentive for building sustainably. And typically, it is much easier to just build as is than trying to be more sustainable, because it could be at an additional premium, which for most projects, people might not be willing to have that premium. Then going back to the informal sector, we can focus on building sustainably from the ground up. A typical example is currently on the ground, there are a lot of block makers, which are small scale enterprises. They typically are doing this by hand, as you can see in the first picture, and it's a massive industry with um, a lot of bricks, a lot of blocks being made and sold every year. And a simple shift could be to make it a medium scale enterprise with higher quality blocks, less material waste, and greater efficiency. And you might be thinking, but how do you know that these small enterprises would want to move to a medium scale, or how how are you sure that they can afford um, a machine like this? So we did a little investigation in Dar es Salaam, where we found a couple of these block makers that were already registered as a business. So obviously you can find their financial records. And we had a discussion with them, and we see how their business works and what are their overheads. And you could see from the profits they make, they could upscale their business. And surprisingly, this machine is actually not as expensive as one would anticipate for purchase and delivery from China into Dar es Salaam. So they could easily upscale without a massive um, loss on their part. And within 6 months, they would be able to break even and completely go back on making their profits once again. So it's small things like this where it's not a lack of people don't want to expand their business, but there isn't access to the information to understand that you could actually upscale your business without um, excessive excessive pricing and loss of money on your end. Then another idea that is most a progression that we envision for these informal production is moving from the small scale enterprise of the manual concrete mixing with the manual block releasing, moving to one of these machines, which is just a press block where you compress and you build it up. And then you're moving to an even more advanced version of that. And finally, this is the large scale enterprises, which this could be a bit of a far end of it, but if people are given the right advice and the right business management assistance, this could be something we can envision for these small scale enterprises of people that are already employing other citizens to without and improve their business without losing employment for the people they're currently employing. Then on the side of on-site concrete mixing and just concrete in general, typically you'll see people on site mixing as shown in the picture, and this results in a lot of wasted material, inconsistent quality of the concrete, and this is something that could easily be moved forward with the machine on-site batch mixing, which can be by volume be yards better than the first picture. And there's this very interesting thing that we actually discovered from India, which has started becoming quite popular there. It's a by weight machine mixer, which is used on a lot of construction sites. And because it's very mobile, you can basically transport it to different construction sites, which can be a need in Africa depending on where the construction is. And this will allow for more efficient and cleaner concrete production. And it's also not at the premium of a completely bulk process such as ready mix and all of that. So these ready mix will obviously never be a big need for the informal sector, but this could be a slow progression for the mid section of the construction industry, where there is quite a bit of wastage of material and uncontrolled difficulty in quality control of the concrete mix.